Hey everyone, Charting Man Dan of the Chart Guys checking in on the cryptocurrency space. Bitcoin with a bull break to the highest level we've seen in months. Let's do a little late night technical analysis to the soundtrack of the frogs. Before we get to the charts, we've got another free ebook about growing a small account, key aspects to consider, how it'll affect your strategy, risk management, what to mentally prepare for, when to go aggressive versus conservative, authored by Chart Gal Dinsey. That'll be linked in the comments of this video. SPY is trying for a daily bull flag, strong close after defending support, pretty much a triple bottom at the low of the last 3 days, and that's exactly what bulls want to see. Bitcoin, bull break finally. We got really tight. We knew volatility was inevitable. We knew the break was coming this week. How did we know? Because we were the tightest we've been in 2023. Couldn't get much tighter. So I fumbled this bull break. I love these kinds of plays when they get really tight. You know volatility is coming. You have a decent, higher probability of follow through on the move because of how tight it has gotten. And again, just going back to post CVID, that is when I got in. It was, well, I'm not going to be able to get it good here, but it was a tight equilibrium on the daily time frame here that broke bull. And that was my entry signal. And so, nice bull move. Simple statement. Bulls have complete control as long as the daily EMA 12 is support. Bulls want to clear 30,000 here in order to have follow through. Because if we don't, then we're just going to draw our uptrending resistance line and we'll keep an eye on that. But for now, bulls are holding the gains, which is a good sign. And it is still Bitcoin leading the way. So I fumbled this move by looking at Trade Riot. I was just so ready to go with knowing volatility is coming this week, knowing I was going to be looking at the cryptocurrency names, and then seeing it on the morning. I talked about this in depth in the broader market video that I put out a few hours ago, so I'm not going to go as in depth, but was ready for this move because all these crypto names were showing a strength standing out all morning. Looks to me like the bulls are making bets for the direction Bitcoin will break its tightening range. So I've mentioned recently, while Bitcoin was sideways on the daily, it's a coin flip for me, and the bulls have a slight edge because of the prevailing trend. But as soon as I saw the morning's price action, my probability meter definitely tilted more to the bulls. So at that point, I was watching for a potential 15-minute higher low, next consolidation. And then what really threw me off was just a significant amount of weakness, zero bid support. And I had not seen that lack of a bid support in a while. I don't know if it was intentional or what, just to fake people out, but I got faked out. And so I stopped out right at the low there after starting to scale in the 940s. And then the move happened literally minutes after, and I could have chased it and it would have worked out. But at that point, I was real frustrated. That's the way it goes. So at this point, if you're looking for an entry, you're waiting for backburners again. They're back on the menu. First 5-minute oversold conditions will scout an hourly higher low, or you can be patient and wait for first 15-minute oversold conditions, scouting a 4-hour higher low, because the 4-hour RSI is above 80 at the moment. Next resistance after 30,000 psychological. Again, we're looking back at some previous levels, and I'm looking at 32.4. There's a decent amount of resistance, 31.4 to 32.4, when we bear flagged back in May. You can see all those tops there, and so we can call that a resistance zone that we'll be looking at after 30,000. Keep in mind, we've got the weekly RSI about to hit 70. And technically that's a back burner in the sense that it's first weekly overbought conditions from oversold conditions, and we are in longer term downtrends. So that alone is not enough to do anything, but it's just something you keep an eye on, along with the daily uptrend as our guide. And if daily EMA 12 is support, the bulls have complete control. So from here, now the question is, are we going to see confidence seep out into alts, or is this just going to be the Bitcoin show all year? Because the dominance chart continues to be extremely strong. We had a weekly bull flag just confirmed, and look at this, I'll call it a resistance zone. It's not resistance, but look at where we've topped. 48.45 and 48.92, and we're currently in the 48s. So there is the possibility that Bitcoin sees its highest dominance in essentially 2 years, which is obviously a very long time. That's on the table as a possibility. And if that's the case, then again, it just means be focusing on Bitcoin. Some altcoins definitely will have their moments and they'll perform. It means you've got to be extra good at watching the BTC pairings. And for me, it means just, keep a lot of the attention on Bitcoin as long as the dominance chart is in a strong uptrend, and be selective with your altcoins. When it's alt season, you're just throwing money around and it's sticking. This is not alt season, obviously. So just be aware. And if you're looking bearish, if you're trying to hedge or if you're trying to be an aggressive bear, you're watching the altcoins, obviously. So as long as, we have a new benchmark level for Bitcoin dominance, as long as this little weekly high or low is holding, big picture, it's still the Bitcoin show. ETH had its moment, a 2-day moment with a nice bull break to higher highs. We did set the daily high or low off EMA 12, so it's a solid uptrend, but we're not breaking resistance of 1944 at this point, and we are obviously a lot weaker than Bitcoin today. 4 hour is a nice little uptrend. So again, these altcoins benefit from Bitcoin's strength. They're going to go up, many of them, but they're just going up less. ETH BTC on the daily time frame has been dropping hard the last 4 or 5 days, and it's a potential weekly bear flag. And we have to keep an eye on that. So it's a pretty, I had stopped watching the dominance for a while just because, on a daily basis, it's not giving me information. I'm starting to pay attention now because I want to know if we're going to see rotation. And really the best case scenario for the bulls, altcoin bulls, would be Bitcoin over 30,000, trade sideways again, but this time have the dominance chart drop and reject from these tops in the 48 percentile range and see a more significant period of consolidation. That would be best case, but going to be paying attention more to the dominance chart on a daily basis. Litecoin heading up towards resistance, a real nice tightening range here. And again, I'd be watching Litecoin for a short, and I'd be patient. I'd wait to see, I'd wait to have some confidence that Bitcoin has found a top, but anything under 105, still over 10% away, is a weekly lower high. And my ideal setup here, I talked about it, I forget if it was a member video or a public video, but I'd like to see a bull break with no follow through to be looking for a short entry. But again, it would be the kind of thing where I would have a tight stop and I would make I'd need to see enough of a statement where that's either the weekly high, lower high, or I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the kind of move that I just scale into. And LTC BTC, tightening daily range, when I laid out the hypothetical scenario, I said, I want to see the LTC BTC chart bounce to set a daily lower high as LTC USD is breaking the higher high with no follow through. It didn't play out exactly that way. But if we break this low, the bears continue to keep complete control of the LTC BTC pairing, and we'll be looking back down at the recent low. So not the kind of setup where, I'm jumping in, looking to jump in short real quick on Litecoin here, but knowing, if I want to short something this week, I'm keeping an eye on Litecoin. But again, got to see a Bitcoin top because we can always get spicy and, have a 5% kind of day. What percent did we just see? A 5% kind of day. And again, we do have a lack of resistance where we stand right now. Doge. Bears are watching Doge for a daily lower high. So again, as long as the dominance is strong, we're looking long on Bitcoin, as long as the uptrends and backburners keep playing out. But there's plenty of alts to have, the list. If Bitcoin does this, I'm looking bearish these alts. And so Doge has a ton of space for a daily lower high. The 4-hour uptrend is our guide. And we will be watching for a loss of the 4-hour uptrend, whether that's a rising wedge, whether that's a head and shoulders, some kind of bearish pattern shapes up. That would be the indication to be looking for that daily lower high. But again, not rushing to look short in crypto right now because Bitcoin can easily keep this momentum going a bit. But once Bitcoin loses this momentum, maybe when we're shaping up for 4-hour consolidation, which we know is going to be inevitable as the 4-hour RSI is already up in the 80s, maybe that's when we're looking bearish on some alts. And one thing that I do when I'm swing trading is, this is more for stocks, but it certainly applies to crypto. If I have a long that I'm trying to let play out on a longer term time frame, it's very difficult for me as a day trader to have a swing trade and knowingly hold through red. Because I know I can see daily consolidation shaping up and I got to hold through daily. I have to knowingly lose money in the short term to try and get the money longer term. So what I will often do is, all right, I won't touch this position because if I'm over trading it as Bitcoin breaks to higher highs, because if I'm over trading it, I might lose my position and not have a good entry to get it back. But I'll hold that position and then short something else. So, let's say I'm long Tesla on the daily, I will short the NASDAQ if it's clear that hourly consolidation is shaping up. So you could do that with crypto where if you're long Bitcoin and you want to keep holding it, then, when we see Bitcoin shaping up for 4-hour or 12-hour consolidation, then we can look short on the altcoins that are weaker. This was an aptly named thumbnail as we're hitting 30,000 live. 15-minute EMA 12 clear short-term guide. But again, we're not looking for any long entries up at this point. Too extended. And like myself, have to chalk it up as a missed move. Still dealing with internet issues. I could write a book on my internet issues. I'll spare you the details, but talked to lots of supervisors. I've had every single wire changed out. Got a woman calling me every day to check in. That's a good step forward. At least they're not ignoring my calls anymore. It's frustrating, but it's the way it goes. Hope you're well. Do good things. Congrats to the Bulls. Establish your game plan. What is the most important level for you? Where are you going to put your stop loss? Are you walking stop losses up? Etc. See you soon.
As someone who's put in thousands of hours learning technical analysis and trading, it's certainly been a useful skill to have in current society, but I also recognize that there's many things that could happen that make that skill set absolutely useless. And so one way that I diversify my skill sets as a human is to ensure that I am able to grow food, identify wild food, and be able to have that kind of skill in case things ever went wrong or in case I was ever in a situation where I had to know how to do those things. So I'll take you now around the yard and look at a bunch of weeds that are edible, all things that I didn't plant that just grow naturally in the area. These are plantains. They're edible, but they're also good for skin. Whenever I get a bee sting, I'll just chew some of that up and put it on, and it definitely seems to help. And if not, placebo's good. It's wild. This is like just the middle of the grass, and there are literally millions of people that would look at that and get frustrated, and then go out and they buy chemicals. They spend their money to buy chemicals, to put chemicals on their lawn where they live, where children and animals play, in the hopes of stamping out a whole bunch of edible stuff and a whole bunch of biodiversity. It's one of the most insane things that humans currently do, and we do a lot of insane things in this day and age. These are all wild strawberries that I didn't plant, and they certainly don't give the giant sweet red fruit of the cultivated varieties. They give some nice little edible berries. These are wild onions. They're one of the first plants that come out in the spring, but as the name suggests, you can eat them just like onions or chives. These are purple dead nettles just growing on the side of the compost pile, and you can eat those raw or saute them down like spinach. So we got one very common one here, dandelion. You can eat the flower, the leaves, the roots, and they are all over. These are violets. So the flower and the leaves of the violet, those are edible.